Hello, my name is Samuel Stampley, and today we will be going over hypertrophy training during periodization. The client's name is Robert. He is a 25-year-old baseball player seeking to gain muscular mass and strength through hypertrophy training. Hypertrophy training during periodization is both helpful in maintenance and in strength gains. This type of training method is most commonly used by athletes who can either be in season or during the off season. The goal of this training is to add variety and to include hypertrophy, strength, power, competition, and active rest. To be clear, hypertrophy training during periodization only lasts for about 3 weeks, so the results can be limited. True hypertrophy only occurs after 8 to 10 weeks of hypertrophy training. Before this time phase, most muscular adaptations made are neuromuscular. To begin hypertrophy training, it is easy. A typical set of bench press would be set at 3 sets of 4 to 6 reps at 85% of the client's 1 rep max. Hypertrophy training during periodization has a lot of benefits and risks to them. Like any training, no training is perfectly safe. In the next few slides, I will demonstrate some benefits and some risks involved with hypertrophy training. Although hypertrophy training during periodization training is less likely to occur of chronic injuries and overtraining because of the commitment to active rest and the variation displayed between the training methods. You start off in hypertrophy, then you move on to strength, power, competition, and then active rest. In combining all of these training methods, it is less likely that overtraining will occur. Hypertrophy training has one big benefit that is largely apparent. That is the gaining of muscle mass and muscular strength and power. Strength and power will help Robert swing the bat faster and throw the ball harder from the outfield. This is largely beneficial to any baseball player. Like in any sport, strength and power are highly required to perform at a high level. It is very wise of Robert wanting to undergo hypertrophy training. Power is the equation of work divided by time. Simply put, that if he gains more power, he will be able to swing the bat faster, stated earlier. If he's able to swing the bat faster, he will be able to hit faster baseballs thrown towards him. Because of this will help his average. With the great strength gains that he will gain from hypertrophy training, he will be able to hit the ball further along with more often, meaning he will become a much better hitter overall. Hypertrophy training is highly beneficial to any baseball player looking to increase their ability on offense. Another benefit to hypertrophy training is an increase in metabolic resting rate. Resting metabolic rate is the amount of energy expressed in calories used in a day at rest. Metabolic resting rate is determined by a couple of biological factors. However, a large portion of the metabolic resting rate is determined by your lean mass. This is beneficial to Robert because at the end of hypertrophy training, it is common to begin endurance training. For him, this will help him lose body fat faster because he has a higher resting metabolic rate. With lower body fat, he will be able to move around the bases a lot faster, and he will be able to lose weight faster simply because he did hypertrophy training before he started the endurance training. Because Robert is undergoing hypertrophy training during periodization, it is believed he will receive optimized training adaptations. This is because there is an emphasis on rest and variation that is believed to be attributed to this success. Periodization is very important for sports with long seasons, case in point baseball, which is what Robert plays. There is also the fact that hypertrophy and other muscular adaptations eventually plateau. Because of periodization training, there is continued variation through the exercises. So this plateau is less likely to occur because the body will not have time to adapt to the different types of resistances it is being put under. That concludes the listed benefits for hypertrophy training. Now moving on to the risks. Injuries in the weight room can be extremely severe. Use of improper form, a bad spotter, or overestimating the amount of weight you can lift can all be huge indications of a weight room injury, specifically an acute injury. For example, squatting with more weight than you can handle can result in a torn ACL or even a lumbar or cervical spine issue, such as a stress fracture on the lower back. Bending forward at the waist is a huge indication of how these types of injuries can occur. Also, overestimating the amount of weight which you can do. Improper form and improper weight are the biggest causes of acute injuries in the weight room. To mitigate this risk, it is important for the trainer to teach proper form and slowly work the client up to using proper form with higher weight. Working your way up will allow the client to get mastery of the lifting technique along with gaining strength to lift higher forms of weight, making it safer. Also, another way a trainer can make acute injuries less likely to occur is to apply a spot. This allows the client to get ready for the weight and mentally prepare for lifting before they actually begin the exercise. Also, during the exercise, the trainer can act as somewhat of a safety net should the client drop the weight. Now for chronic injuries. These types of injuries are brought up through an onset of stretches which causes a breakdown in the different types of tissue across the body. Even though periodization training changes up the workout as to not stress the same muscle over and over again, it is still possible for chronic injuries to occur. As a trainer, it is important to schedule more off days or change out the frequency or intensity at which the trainer is training a specific muscle group. An example of chronic injuries that are common with hypertrophy training would involve stress fractures. Stress fractures are extremely common in the lower half of the body when lifting large amounts of weight. A third risk of hypertrophy training is actually atrophy or negligible gains in muscle mass. This is actually the opposite of hypertrophy and what you do not want. This falls under the guidelines, specifically under nutrition. Nutrition is extremely important during hypertrophy. Eating right during hypertrophy training is essential. Your body needs protein to rebuild and repair the damaged tissue. This is caused mostly by the eccentric phase of lifting. The average person needs about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per body weight in kilograms. Also, in order to gain muscle or just gain weight in general, caloric expenditure needs to be lower than caloric intake, meaning that you have to eat more than what you burn off during the day. There are several ways to break down macronutrient consumption. Macronutrients consist of carbs, fats, and proteins. During the hypertrophy phase of training, eating more protein is ideal than any other macronutrient. However, the two other macronutrients are very much needed in order to maximize the weight gain. A trainer is not a dietitian, however. A trainer can give basic guidelines to nutrition and on how to build muscle mass from eating. These are the goals Robert listed that he wanted to complete during his hypertrophy training. First of which is to gain 2 to 3 pounds of lean mass by the end of the hypertrophy training phase. Secondly is to gain 10 pounds of the 1 rep reps for bench press and 20 pounds for squat by the end of the training program, and to increase the diameter of his forearms by 1 to 2 centimeters. Robert will be using skin calipers in order to measure his lean mass at the end of the hypertrophy phase to see whether or not he met his goal. He will be using the 1 rep max test for bench and squat to see whether he met goal 2. And to see if he met goal 3, he will simply measure the diameter of his forearms at the beginning of the hypertrophy phase and again at the end. Both goal 1 and goal 2 will help Robert hit the ball harder, and goal 3 will help Robert throw the ball harder and swing the bat faster, for the forearm muscles help greatly in throwing and hitting. And that will conclude hypertrophy training during periodization.